Americans are still being evacuated from Iran, and with us this morning, having just flown in from Europe, is Captain William W. Malcolm. He's a 57-year-old Pan Am pilot who was the captain of one of the two 747s which brought about 600 Americans out of Tehran last Saturday. The evacuees had been pouring into Tehran all week long to be processed for the flight home, but the uneasy and unstable political situation in Iran made the final hours something of a nightmare for them. The Americans were asked over and over for their passports. They were repeatedly searched. And after waiting virtually all day long, at 5:22 p.m., 300 passengers aboard Captain Malcolm's plane heard him ask, "Ladies and gentlemen, what would you say if I were to tell you we're about to take off?" And what did they say?
I heard their cheers way up in the cockpit. It was a very spontaneous reaction.
There were armed guards there as well. Armed guards. Was it ever clear whether they were protecting you or there to harass?
They were young.
How young?
Well, I would guess anywhere from 18 to 25. And they were very polite, but they were insistent, and they had high-powered rifles there to back up their insistence. When we first arrived, we were ringed by these militiamen or by these armed guards, and they trained their rifles on our tires and on the cockpit. And that was a source of concern because we didn't know exactly how much training these men had.
Before we went on the air, something about this was the most satisfying, and then we had to stop. What were you going to say then?
Well, in all my years of flying, this is the most satisfying, gratifying flight that I have ever made because it was appreciated so by these passengers. When they had left the flight in Rome, there were handshakes, hugs, tears of joy.
It's not the first time you volunteered for what I guess we would call crisis duty, is it?
Well, this sort of thing is not absolutely new to Pan American. Pan American has been there in the World War II, Korea, South Vietnam, the Berlin airlift, the Congo.
Were you in Berlin?
I was based in Germany, flying the corridors from Western Berlin into Berlin for 3.5 years.
And what about Vietnam? Were you a part of that evacuation?
Yes, I was. I flew our servicemen on their rest and recreation flights in and out of Vietnam for 2 years.
Was the Iranian evacuation the most dangerous, or the most satisfying, or both, however?
This is the most satisfying thing. When you have 4, 5, or 300 people on the airplane who are so appreciative, then it has got to be the most satisfying flight.
You are a commercial pilot. What is the relationship between the commercial airlines and an official evacuation such as it was in Iran?
Pan American has always, it seemed, been asked to do these things, and we're very, very pleased to step to the breach. Pan American, historically, for the last 50 years, has been on hand when when they're needed.
To be there when needed. It's a Pan Am tradition. In 1929, when the airline was less than 2 years old, a violent storm struck South Florida. Dozens were killed. Many were stranded. Pan Am had a base near